Chapter 22. October 22nd. My grandfather came to 2 practices this week. Not Webb, not anybody else can say that. The other 2 days he was with Abby after school. And of course today he was at our game with Donner. They were a lot better than Hillside East. They beat us 27-19. I figured it served the coach right for making me sit out the first quarter. Once I got in, I scored all 3 of our TDs. After each one, I pointed to Scooter in the stands and said to myself, "Take that, Webbs." Actually, I was kind of surprised that Webb showed up for his cheerleading duties today. This morning, as Mike and I were heading for homeroom, we came on a whole mob of kids laughing and whistling in the hallway. We nosed our way in. The target was somebody's locker, and you didn't have to be a genius to figure out whose. Taped onto the door was a sign saying, "Sissy Boom Ba," and hanging from the clamp of the padlock was a lacy black bra. Mike laughed. "Looks like the whole school's taken over our job for us." I didn't really care. My mind wasn't on Webb today. It wasn't even totally on the game with Donner. What it was on was the school dance tonight, and Jane Forbes. I hoped she'd be there, and she was. We've been in school over a month now, and she hasn't said 2 words to me. When I ask her a question, she nods or grunts or pretends she doesn't hear. When I wave and say hi in the hallway, she walks by with her nose in the air. And every time she does it, I get a little madder. And I like her a little more. Is that crazy or what? I walked to the dance with Mike. He kept smirking at me. "You love her." "Yeah, right," I said, "if you spell love H-A-T-E. "You love her." "If she was a guy, I would have clubbed her a long time ago." His smirk doubles, and he gets into my face and says almost in a whisper, "But she ain't a guy." I cruised the sidelines of the dance floor with DeLuca and Brill and some other footballers. I knew I was looking good. I wore my new shirt for the first time. My mother had taken the price tag off, but I saw a shirt just like it at the mall. It's worth about 10 pan pizzas. Speaking of looks, the girls. It was funny. We had just seen them in class a couple of hours before. But now, the cafeteria was a dance floor, and they weren't girl students anymore. They were girls. Pure chicks. Jane Forbes was something else. She was like another species. She left the other girls so far behind. She came in with some friends she had made since school started. She was dressed pretty much the same as at school, which didn't surprise me. She's not the fancy type. She was too far away, and the lights were too dim for me to see her face good, but I knew there wouldn't be much makeup. Her hair seemed a little different. Mike poked me. "There she is." I pretended to look around. "Who do you think?" I couldn't stand that grin of his. Just to show him, I turned, reached out, and without really looking, tapped the nearest female and said, "Want to dance?" Mistake. I was looking down into a face that hardly came up to my armpit. She had a big white floppy bow in her hair. She was surrounded by 3 other tiny tots, all with big floppy bows. She had to be in 6th grade, but she had the body of a 3rd grader and the face of a drunken grandmother. She had on enough makeup for 10 clowns. She must have put it on in the dark after her mother dropped her off. A splotch of rouge was so thick on one cheek it looked like a 3rd eye, and her lipstick was smeared so bad it looked like she had 4 lips. The 3 eyes gawked up at me like I was something in a zoo. Both mouths opened and said, "Huh?" Behind me, the guys were squeaking with held-in laughter. Somebody was nudging me closer to the girl. I was getting mad at them, at the girl. "Never mind," I said, but at the same time and louder, Mike butted in. He said, "Do you want to dance?" I cranked up a grin while I rammed my elbow back into my best friend's chest. Meanwhile, the girl's friends were squealing and pressing into her. One of them said, "Dawn, he wants you to dance with him." Another one whispered, "Are you gonna?" They were all looking from her to me to her. Two of Dawn's eyes kept blinking at me. Then her mouth opened again and let go its second syllable of the night. "No." Half the football team erupted. Before I could say something, the tots toddled off. I turned. I put out both hands and shoved. Mike went back into Brill. Brill went back into three others, and then they were all lurching and howling back into the lunch counter. I headed straight across the floor. Maybe I didn't know before what I was going to do. Now I did.